Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, it's May. And what did we say is going to start happening in May? We're going to start to see more and more cruises start. And that day is today. Okay, quickly before I start, we're in lockdown here again in Ottawa, Canada. Week 3 of 6, and who knows how long that's gonna go. So I cannot get my hair cut or shaped, so this is what you're gonna get for a little while longer anyway. Well, on to today's story. That's right. We all know there's 10 different cruise lines getting ready to start sailing in Europe, and we got high hopes now here in the United States that will be sailing sometime by the end of June, early July, maybe August. Out of North America, we also have cruises sailing in June in the Caribbean, so there's a lot of cruise ships getting ready to sail, getting started. Some big news out there. And today, Costa Cruise Line took one step further in that opening of cruise lines as the Costa Smeralda began sailing this weekend. Now the Grandioso is out sailing, and now we have the Costa ship out sailing. Soon we'll have AIDA Cruise Lines sailing, as well as MSC having more ships opening up very, very shortly as well. So a lot of ships are scheduled to open between roughly, or most of them around between the 17th of May into June, because remember that deadline for the European and the UK of getting up whether or not you're going to be at a cruise, what travel restrictions are going to be all there. They say they were doing that gradual reopening, and the main date they set was May 17th. Well, they're getting ready to sail now, and one ship is off, and we have more ships coming in the future, so we can all look forward to more and more news about sailings from cruise ships. Now, this can happen twofold. One, we can hear some really bad news that there's a big outbreak or something like that happen, and cruises were shut down and delays and things like that. Or we can hear smooth sailing, things are going good, everything's well handled, and everyone, there's no big outbreaks. If there is an outbreak, it's a single case and nothing really happens. And that's the best case scenario, right? Nothing happens, or if there isn't a case on board, it's handled very smoothly like the rest have been handled in many, many places. A big story on this weekend, well, not really big, but some people were trying to make it into a huge, huge story. I think it's called the Osaka 2, was a smaller cruise ship in Japan, and it had to return home after one day being out sailing, and it returned because one passenger on board tested positive. And a lot of people were going, look, here's another cruise ship back in Yokohama Harbor. It's deja vu, everybody, of what happened with the Diamond Princess. And okay, let's not get too overhyped about that kind of story. Deja vu of the Diamond Princess. Diamond Princess had 700 people come down sick, and they were stuck on a cruise and isolated on a cruise, and no one could get off. This cruise had one person get sick. They were transferred off the hospital, off the ship, and that was it. Now, they did return with all their passengers. I don't know if that ship continued on its way afterwards, or they canceled the rest of the cruise. I believe they canceled it, which is pretty extreme these days, considering how many cruise ships have been able to keep sailing with one passenger out there. They have systems in place to contact trace. Maybe this cruise line doesn't have that kind of system like you would have on a Disney cruise, Royal Caribbean, MSC, Princess Cruise Lines, where they have like the medallion, where they can track passengers and where they've been and the close contacts. Maybe this ship didn't have that. So, and in fact, the stringent guidelines for this cruise are very, very hard to find. It's they're very, very vague when it's talking about their health protocols on board. In fact, I believe to get on this ship, you only needed to test 7 days ahead of time, not 3 days, 7 days ahead of time. So again, seems to be an example of when cruise ships don't have the best policies in place. And those strict guidelines out there that we know the North American cruise lines are definitely setting up. Testing on board, testing beforehand, testing getting off the ships, vaccinated crew members, etc., etc. We know those are going to be in place. You know, social distancing. We don't know really what the deal was with this ship. Much like that, you remember the ferry that was sailing up and down the coast of Norway, where it had over 60 passengers, or 60 to 70 passengers, ended up getting sick and spreading it out to the coast when they first started opening. But the cruise line came out and they completely admitted that they didn't follow their own guidelines. They didn't follow their own safety protocols, and that's why that happened. That's why there was that big outbreak. When cruise ships don't follow the protocols. Remember the cruise sailing into the Caribbean area that came from Europe, and they were setting sail on, I think Ben and David were on that cruise. Was it a Pondent cruise? I can't remember off the top of my head now as I'm talking about this, but where they had 2 crew members and 7 passengers came down sick. Well, yeah, they admitted again, there was not much social distancing on board, and they weren't wearing masks on board. So how is that following protocols, right? And that's when you saw the outbreaks. MSC Grandioso had 1 case. Mindshift 1 has 2 or 3 cases total. Mindshift 2, I think, had 1 or 2 cases total, including crew members. So it is spread out more than these big cases would have us seen. Like that ferry cruise up and down Norway, that's like an anomaly. It doesn't happen now. There was a big investigation into it to the cruise line, why they were not following their own protocols, etc. And it does seem to be a pattern. If you follow the protocols, things seem to work. There doesn't seem to be huge outbreaks. When you don't follow the protocols, there's isolated cases here and there compared to big, widespread super spreaders. So that is good news for us going forward. Let's hope when the cruise lines start up here in Europe and keep going that we have nothing but good news and they follow the protocols strictly, which I'm sure they will. Grandioso has been following it pretty strict. Mindshift has been following it pretty strict since they first had of their first outbreak. So I'm looking forward to seeing some good results from Europe, and that can only mean good things for us if that's all good news. Let's just hope, fingers crossed, that's what we hear, because we know the cruise industry does definitely does not need more bad news or more headlines like this one was trying to be. Deja vu, Yokohama Harbor, Princess, Diamond Princess, remember that, remember that, remember that? And then when you read the story, it's one isolated case. Well, I got news for you. My local grocery store here has had 13 cases in that grocery store in the past 40 days. So I'll take my chances in those odds, right? It's funny how they were trying to blow it up into a bigger story than it actually was. Well, I hope you appreciate the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I'll see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world. Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation as my furnace clicks on just in time for the end of the video.